Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I would like to call to order this Middletown Borough Council meeting, February 15, 2022 to order. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Kliskevich.
Here.
Ms. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Strom.
Here.
Ms. Willenbecker. Here. Mr. Redinger.
Here.
Mr. Seitz and Ms. Williams are not here.
The mayor is present with us on the phone. He is tested COVID positive and will be joining via phone. At this time, I would like to report on the February 1st and February 15th, 2022 executive session held to discuss personnel and potential litigation. At this time, do I have public comment on agenda items?
Up here.
Right here is fine, sir. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Troy Baker, 115 Park Circle. So I just want to comment on the pavers downtown. It looks like we're just going to replace them. Now, I don't know the whole story behind
It's a
that.
long one.
What's that?
It's a long one.
Yeah, but when I first saw that, first thing in my head was like, I hope these are done right, because if not, there's going to be some problem with them. And apparently, like, they weren't done right. It's at least less than 10 years, and they're breaking already. You know, other towns like Hershey and Skilton, they have pavers too, and they're fine. They have much higher traffic. So I'd kind of like to at least see some kind of investigation and somebody held accountable for that, whether it's the contractor or people at the borough responsible for overseeing the work, and not just kind of push it onto the taxpayers like nothing happened.
That's a very good point.
That's all.
Thank you very much. Any other comment on agenda items? Seeing none. Agenda item number 1.
It will be approval of our meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve council meeting minutes for the February 1st, 2022 meeting as submitted?
Motion by Councilor Willenbecker, second by Councilor Kliskevich. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 2.
Approval of bills. Do I have a motion to approve payment of bills as shown on the accounts payable list dated February 10th, 2022, which is for the period of January 28th of 2022 through February 10th of 2022, and to ratify approval of such bills already paid and authorize the appropriate officials to make the required or take the required actions to make those payments.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Kliskevich, second by Councilor Miller. Any questions or comments on the bills? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3.
Do I have a motion to authorize HRG to advertise the bid for the paving project for the removal of the downtown pavers and replace them with asphalt?
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Kliskevich, second by Councilor Strom. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4.
That's the manager's report. Give me a second to find it.
Take your time.
I will start out by commenting to Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker, if you would like to give me a call at my office, I can fill you in on the paper investigation, it was investigated, and it turns out that, in my opinion, the error aligned with the borough personnel on staff at the time didn't heed the warning of their engineer not to use that specific application. So we did run down the rabbit hole with the supplier, and it wasn't made to stand up against something. That's where we're now. You saw the project on the advertised, just to take them out and replace them. Asphalt. But when I call, you know, I can give you some more details on that investigation, who was involved.
It's a very unfortunate situation, but we're here to clean it up.
All right. Item number 1 on my report, we just took care of. That was the paving project that we just voted to advertise. Item number 2, an organization known as Brittany's Hope is holding a bicycle fundraising event on July 17th of this year, and they've requested the use of our green space outside of Hopper Park. They are planning to have 100 to 150 cyclists, as well as some tents set up there. They're basically going to do water stop tents and a bathroom stop. They're going to bring in Jiffy John's. Let the council would be okay with adding that to the agenda for a vote.
No objection, yes to that.
Okay. Item number 3 and 4 both pertain to handicap parking space requests. One for request for 634 South Wood, and another for 28 State Street. That's items 3 and 4. If you have no objection, we'll put that on the agenda for your vote next month.
Yes.
Item number 5, we've been approached again this year by Mr. Pyrotechnics. They are inquiring to see if we are interested in doing Labor Day fireworks again this year. If we are, they are willing to hold their price firm within the last couple of years.
That's good. Due to rising inflation, that's good. They're holding steady.
So if you want that on the agenda, I will say that we did not budget funds in the operating budget for this, but we didn't last year either. The mayor did a fundraising event and came up with the funds to pay for it through donations. So you want to put that on for a vote next month?
I'm fine.
Okay, number 6, Historical Society submitted a request to use Hopper Park once again, this time for their 47th annual craft fair on June 11th, 2022 from 9 to 4. Can we put that on the agenda? Any questions? Item number 7 is a resolution 2022-3, which outlines a number of old documents and records that the borough would like to dispose of. So we would like to put that on the agenda for your approval next month. There were some questions asked by a counselor about some fees that we charge for the municipal pool. That's in your packet if you want to review them. That was done by resolution. We have gone out for advertisement for an aquatics director today. We posted on Facebook. We did learn that the person that we employed the last time we opened the pool is not going to be available this year. So we have one applicant so far, but that applicant does not have the certifications to a state certification for a pool. So hopefully we find somebody, but we'll see what happens. Elks Theater sale closed. Most of you know, I think we posted that on Facebook. It closed last Monday. Yes. And so now we will move forward with some other housekeeping things that have to be done there. Legally, it was a condominium unit that closed the ball there. But for all intents and purposes, the new owner is William P. Corbett III, who plans to open up what's known as a STEM facility in that area. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Education, and Mathematics. So it will be basically a place that teachers, school teachers and students in those subjects to prepare them for careers in those fields. I will say there was no guarantees in the contract, but many people might be happy to know Mr. Corbett loves old building and antiques, and he has expressed his desire to maintain the historical look of the building and the balcony and the pictures of the facade, the structure of the facade. Then item number 10, Suez has submitted a renewal application to the SRBC for their water withdrawal for well number 6. And that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions of me.
No, thank you very much, Ken. Agenda item number 5, codes. Al, good evening.
Good evening. We issued 20 building zoning permits in January, did 7 pre-sale sidewalk inspections, received 9 complaints and issued 7 notice of violations. The Planning Commission also reviewed the Woodland Hills subdivision phases 6B and 10B, 8 and 9, and has given that final approval with conditions. And we do, in the packet there, got bids for the new Explorer, base Explorer through Ford, through Huffman. The pricing we got is through CoStars, and then the best, I guess, interest rate we found was through Santander, which is 2.67% for 5 years. That's the same deal that the police vehicles received, same company. So I did get prices from Fred Beam. They were a little better on their price, about $270 better, but they couldn't match the interest rate that we got from Santander. There is an offer through Ford right now, which is 1.9%, I think, for 60 or 72 months, but that's a retail offer. We couldn't use the CoStar's price with that. So we pay a little bit more in interest, but we're going to save a lot more with the CoStar's price. So it'll take 3 to 6 months to get built if we do order it, so we're looking, I guess, next month for approval, move forward on that.
Okay. Any questions for him? Is everybody good with putting that on the agenda? Excellent, Al. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 6, finance. Sally, good evening.
Good evening. So there's 2 items. One is on my report, and the other is an ad that I wanted to talk about. The first one is a street light note that we took out in 2017 through First Columbia Bank. We have funds in Fund 40 that for this payment of the street lights. But we've been paying it out of the general fund since 2017. So we were going to transfer the amount each year from Fund 40 into full cash to make the payment. However, there is a possibility that we can pay off the full amount of the note because it goes to 2030. And there will be a balance left in Fund 40 that we could utilize for non-electric capital. It doesn't matter if we pay it off or we don't pay it off. If we pay it every year, we're still going to have to pay the interest. So there's no savings by doing this. But what it does allow us to do is to take the remaining funds in Fund 40 and utilize them for non-electric capital. We can't, until the note's paid off, utilize any funds that are left over. So that wouldn't be until 2031. So if we could add it to the agenda, the first meeting in March, for consideration.
Without objection, yes.
The second item is the Attorney General approved the transfer of the funds in the Landis Fund to be transferred to Interfaith. So I'm just letting you know that we're ready to issue the check and send it over to Interfaith. We'll work with the auditors to close out that fund. Bill, does anybody have any questions on my report?
Sally, I just had a quick question. Remind me again when you would be able to determine if there is a balance surplus that could fund the master plan for green spaces and recreation.
Okay, is that the park?
The HRG Parks plan,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, we would have, I don't know, I haven't identified any funds specifically for that. So we didn't put any monies to pay for the actual review of Parks and Recreation. That's not in the 2022 budget. Is that what you're asking, that amount, or?
I
She
think-
knows it's not in the budget, but we discussed last year that if there was any fund balance for 2021, that would cover a cost like that. We have discussion with council to take that certain amount from full cash and bring it into our floor and such and stuff.
Yes, we could do that.
So do we have enough? I guess what she's asking is,
Yeah, I don't-
when the auditors are done, what's our, and
Yeah,
all the other funds are met as far as the rainy day fund and so forth.
Right.
Do we have any cash?
okay, I don't know that at this point, but after the audit, I would know that.
And that is again,
We actually start the audit next week, so I would think it would be concluded around April, which is about when they come back to report.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the board?
I don't believe so.
Bill asked me, since he couldn't be here, to just provide you a note on his report about the body cams that was requested by, I believe, Councilman Sites. He did get in a quote today from Axon Enterprise, which is attached to your packets. And he would like to have this reviewed at the next council meeting for approval. The total cost for the project is about $490,000. It would be an annual cost of approximately $48,500. His first year, he does have ICDA funds to cover it. In years following, because it's a 10-year project, basically, a payment for the hardware and the services, he would have to either budget it in his operating budget or request information on grant funding. So that information is in your packet to review, but he wanted to make sure that you have that. So I can't really answer questions on that, but
Mr. President,
Yes, yes, ma'am.
with regard to the body cameras, I believe that we've had some prior discussion with our solicitor in that we all were aware of the equipment that does involve policy. So that needs to be, we need to think of that as well. You can't just get body cameras and wear them.
What the mayor is saying is that this purchase would require some policy changes with the union. We can't just make a purchase and implement it right away. There would be some union interacting with that. Is that correct, Mayor?
Yes.
Anything else for Sally on Bill's side? Okay, agenda item number 8, Public Works. Mr. Willsbach?
Questions on the points of interest that I have on my report? So I can get to the action items. We got a bunch. Okay, first off, the developers here from Woodland Hills, he had requested that we put on the agenda to amend our ordinance for no parking to a certain section of Sage Boulevard that's becoming an issue with traffic on the corner, on the curve. So I believe we shared some pictures in your packets and stuff, and I'd like to put that on the agenda.
So did we do like an internal study, so to speak?
Correct. It would be an ordinance change. It would just be an ordinance change for no parking.
In Public Works, I take, you agree with this change?
Yeah.
You have no issues?
Yeah, no, I don't see no issues with that there. That's in a neighborhood that has all on-street parking. So,
Is a traffic study in order for no parking?
I believe so. No, no parking. That's an ordinance change.
Yeah, I think that's correct. We'll double check that, that's my recommendation.
So, I'd like to put that on the agenda. Yeah. Also, put on the agenda for the approved revisions to the streets and sidewalk, Articles 1 through 8 and Articles 5. I guess it has to go to the solicitor first and let him go through his process with change.
Is there some background on what the changes, why the changes? Like bicycle, scooter?
A lot of it was just clarification. One of the articles was actually adopted in January of 1883. So we're updating a little bit. Most of it deals with not allowing different materials and objects to be placed on the street or within the right-of-way, such as piles of stone, mulch, snow plows, logs, whatever else may come along. There's a little bit of language in here discussing ensuring that plans get recorded. It takes some of the antiquated language on how the borough would split costs for new streets to be constructed. It removes that language out of there.
That I was thinking that we'll have to look at, because that overlaps the subdivision land development ordinance, and we talk about dedications. I think we need to be careful. So it's one thing if we lay out a new street, which probably will never happen ever again in history, small road like this. But, anything that's being built by a developer and dedicated, we got to be careful we're not confusing everybody with, a non-subdivision land development ordinance and provisions on that. But it may make sense to look at both of them together to see, we need to update everything, but put it all in the subdivision land development if it's going through that door, and then, still have provisions in case we're ever laying out a new street on our own.
Sure.
Does council have any objection that we get Mr. Diamond to review Matt's suggested changes before we come back? And
That's probably a good idea.
Also, I don't know if this needs to be put on the agenda or because we just consensus. We got the quotes back from HP before for a mini split system for in our computer server's going to be moved to the borough, back to the borough. And it came in, it's going to be paid out of American Rescue Fund, which I believe council will already approve, but I think it came in at 1%. So it's $12,350, I think. So it's really pennies we have for it. So I don't know if council wants to act on it or if it's just an informational item to you that we're still.
What do you recommend to your committee to vote on it?
When we plan to get started?
Pardon me?
When we plan to get started on this project?
Well, as soon as we sign the paper,
Why don't we just get put on the agenda for March 1st, when council approves that?
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
12,000. And change? You said 12,000 and change, correct?
Yes, and it was co-stars.
Okay.
So, those three kids involved.
I think the IT fact that they're in our contract is all under protection.
It is actually the first part that has to be done before you can move the server, so.
Understand.
Lastly, I apologize if I didn't hear you. But we just received the bids today for Oak Hills. I don't know.
No, I didn't bring it up, I was leaving that. That's not
Okay.
right.
We did receive the bids today for Oak Hills, and I'd like to put that on the agenda to be awarded at the next meeting and get that project going. So, and they were within
The budget.
the budget.
That's good news in today's,
Yeah,
today's market.
they came down.
Our budget was 256,000, with the grant and our share, it was a 50/50 split for a total of 256, and the low bid came in at 227, and we have, I think, 25,000 in engineering, so that puts us right around 240, 250, so we're about 6,000 on the budget roughly.
Take that all day in today's market. Take that all
As you
day.
recall, we had bid this project once before, and it came way over budget. So we took a couple of things out, the biggest thing we took out was we took out the over here part. We removed that from the specification and just left Oak Hills intact with a few paving items that we removed and some landmark items, and rebid it, and it came in on budget.
Yeah.
What else?
That's all I have. That's
Greg, any more information about that possible street scaping grant down Emall? You had mentioned it last time.
Yeah, but we were supposed to have a review of the plans, and the gentleman got COVID. So it seems to be the story of our lives lately. When you're getting ready to do something, someone gets COVID, it's off 2 weeks. That will be next week. I will be meeting with them.
Okay, thank you.
And like I said, we'll go from there and I'll advise you. I meant also, I'd advise you, give you the substation update that was the engineers today on the substation. A lot of it was going over preliminaries, did a page turn on the substation itself, but then also went out and looked at design work that would be required to get the circuits outside, which is a big part of the substation. So there will be some additions and stuff to the plans on that, and I will keep you advised when they'll be ready to put it out for bid. We do have HRG's financial division looking into possible funding for that, which won't be ready until after March anyways. They're thinking for updates on whether or not that will qualify for some of this federal funding.
Greg, before you sit down, one additional item that just recently came up was the subject of Jake Brooks, the engine retarders.
I just seen it.
Did you see my email? What are your thoughts on that? Is that something you can talk to HRG about and see if there's a cost associated with that request from PennDOT? I found a code that said PennDOT would have to approve any kind of signage for prohibiting Jake Brooks.
Yeah, because it is on their highway.
Right.
I don't know if the legality of the borough regulating that on someone else's highway. I mean, it's a noise, it's a noise ordinance, like, I certainly think.
Well, I think it's anywhere in your municipality, you have to have their approval before you can prohibit it.
Yeah, I can get with HRG on that and start the process and see what's involved.
This is a subject that came up some years ago. Former Councilor Bob Reed used to talk about it quite often, and the subject's been asked again. So if you want, we can have Rick talk to our HRG and find out if there is any cost associated with that request. But we'd also like the feedback on what your thoughts about that, because it would be, wherever we would do this, say we do it on Main, Vine, and Union, you're putting up signs on it.
There's a lot more trucks on the road these days, and on the hilly areas, tend to hear it a lot. And if you live on that, you are getting tired of it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, a resident actually emailed me about this 2 nights ago, and rightly so. He said with all the truck terminals going into Leonard Township, the new ones that are going in on North Union Street, the potential for more of them to go in on Vine Street. I think we need to start looking at this now instead of waiting until we have it. We have to see what we can do, but we need to start looking.
Yeah, it'll be approval and then ordinance, and then signage would be the process, so.
I like your signs on Main Street. I haven't seen it. I haven't, do we have any on Vine Street yet?
Not, yeah, they're on line.
I just ignore them.
One part for, the pedestrian safety, since we're having more and more pedestrians in town with the colleges. As you know, the study was done and to lower the speed limit throughout town. So, contrary to, I think there was some rumors floating around that we were just lowering it, and that's not true. There was a study done through PennDOT, and that's it's PennDOT's road. PennDOT come back and said the 85th percentile, this is a speed limit that you're doing. So.
Anything else from Mr. Whitman? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 9, Viola/joint venture. Not with us this evening. I'm going to add an item here. I'm seeking a motion to amend our agenda to add an item. Just to amend, I'm seeking a motion right now just to amend the agenda.
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to add one specific item. And do I need to say what?
Yes.
Personnel.
Police personnel.
It's in reference to police personnel.
Do I have a second? I have a motion by Councilor Kuskevich and a second by Councilor Strome to amend our agenda for police personnel. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed?
And
Motion
to
carries.
clarify, is that based on information that came up within the last 24 hours of council's consideration?
At this time, I'd like to open it up to a public comment on agenda items on this new topic. Well,
What do you want to discuss?
Mr. Diamond.
Well, until the motion is made, right now, the only thing discussed is the motion, the amendment of the, so you'll actually, once you make the substantive motion, you'll open it up again for public comment on the substantive motion. And then Grace will have to put on the web that the agenda is.
Go ahead.
Okay. I move to place Detective Bloom on paid administrative leave, effective immediately until further action by council.
I have a motion by Councilor Willenbecker and a second by Councilor Kuskevich. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, I'd like to open up to public comment on that new agenda. Seeing no public comment, Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Kliskevich?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Strome?
Yes.
Ms. Willenbecker?
Yes.
Mr. Reddinger?
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item number 10, council. Does council or the mayor have anything they would like to talk about, discuss, or bring up?
I have something I'd like to put on next meeting's agenda, and I would seriously like to get rid of all these pavers that we're storing. Put them up for bid, put them up for sale, give me $1 a piece, I don't care. We're storing how many?
Roughly 70 pallets.
70 pallets of pavers.
Municipal bid would be a good
Whatever.
avenue
Can
for.
we just add that to next meeting's agenda, or whatever?
So, next meeting, a motion to place extra papers on municipal bid.
Thank you.
Any other square?
I mean, you do have to understand that there was a square proposal that was going to use those pavers.
There was one, a square.
Yeah, I mean, you do what you want, but it's usually, I find out the borough sells stuff prematurely a lot.
Well, here's what I know. Those pavers were not designed for traffic. They're junk.
Correct.
We need to get rid of them.
They're not designed for salt. If you look at the ones that are between the building, that they're the pizza shop, the plaza is like brand new.
Yeah.
But you're right, they're not designed for traffic.
I'm not
or salt.
familiar with that project at the square. Were those pavers
The same
for the
color.
street?
There were two types of pavers that were purchased for the street speed project. There was a type that was purchased to go in the street, which you see are deteriorating, and salt, and there was a different type that was put in the sidewalk. And they seem to be holding up okay. Is that correct?
Correct. The pavers, if you remember, downtown, all those sidewalks were supposed to be pavers. And at that time, the ICDA removed the pavers from that and built concrete, which is the reason we have the excessive amount of pavers left over. There was talk about potentially doing the square and utilizing some of those pavers.
And over across the street at the park, there was going to be a paver area in there because it qualifies for the drainage for the water rather than doing concrete.
Okay, so can you come up with how many pavers we need to do the park? You give me a number by next meeting.
Let's discuss it, yeah, let's get some more.
Yeah, I think we could come up with, and get rid of the excess is what you're saying.
Yeah, I just want,
Pavers for the street.
I just don't want us hanging on the stuff we don't need.
The stuff that maybe you can use behind it,
Yeah.
he keeps on.
That's a very good point. Any council, mayor, anything else? I would just like to say, we'd like to thank the Middletown Volunteer Fire Department again for letting us utilize their facility. Hopefully we will be back home by next meeting, but thank you again to the fire department for hosting us. We appreciate it. I have nothing further. At this time, I would like to call for general public comment. Mr. Still, good evening.
Pavers, you don't have to feed them and you don't have to dust them. Can't you use them for retaining walls or something somewhere, or decoration, or placing them around somewhere?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think they would be suitable for a retaining wall, but I'm not an engineer.
Well, I guess they're not very big.
This is a good idea. Good idea.
Like I said, you don't have to dust them and you don't have to feed them.
Any other general public comment? We will not be having another executive session, so we can scratch that. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting for this evening?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.